Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the High Speeds live class. Let's go ahead and mute everybody. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with some common words to get our fingers going. Ready? Always, said, 3, upon, book, morning, business, number, then, people, receive, its, place, date, tell, sure, mother, enough, each, credit, days, kind, ago, ask, off, without, office, house, excuse me, under, through, most, service, once, big, own, another, part, herewith, into, sending, state, interest, pay, having, try, quite, boy, correct, freight, April, read, chance, pay, returned, during, lot, city, pretty, future, weather, need, came, forward, certainly, men, trust, above, thinking, pleasure, sorry, regard, written, years, past, stock, away, life, rather, material, paper, high, why, further, fine, really, desire, taken, through, suppose, new, seems, several, satisfactory, help, understood, bill, close, covering, guess, room, gold, sister, opinion, train, law, low. Good morning, Adam. Hello. Great to have you. All right. Let's do some doublets. Here we go. Ready? Consistent minimum, numerous improvements, preferable selection, licensed subcontractor, necessary collaboration, greater emphasis, maximum participation, thorough investigation, selected intermediary, deliberate concession, subsidiary development, domestic monopoly, habitual deviant, hydraulic equipment, inherent fallacies, luxurious condominium, orthopedic appliances, environmental survey, guaranteed minimum, telemarketing service, excavating equipment, corrugated cardboard, furniture manufacturing, seismographic activity. All right. I've got some recent Supreme Court cases. Here we go. Ready? Rothjury versus Gillespie County, 554 U.S. 191, 2008. Greenlaw versus United States, 554 U.S. 237, 2012. Indiana versus Edwards, 554 U.S. 164, 2009. Munoz versus Jaron, 553 U.S. 674, 2011. Allison Engine Company versus United States, Saunders, 2010, 553 U.S. 662. Exxon Shipping Company versus Baker, 554 U.S. 471, 2014. Giles versus California, 554 U.S. 353, 2016. Davis versus Federal Election Commission, 554 U.S. 724, 2013. Oh, there's more. Watson versus United States, 552 U.S. 74, 2007. Kimbrough versus United States, 552 U.S. 85, 2005. Gall versus United States, 552 U.S. 38, 2017. Stone Ridge Investment Partners versus Scientific Atlanta, 552 U.S. 147, 2008. Ally versus Federal Bureau of Prisons, 552 US 2000, or excuse me, 214, 2014. Regal versus Medtronic Incorporated, 552 US 312, 2007. Preston versus Furrier, 552 US 346, 2002. Snyder versus Louisiana, 552 US 472, 2018. Medellin versus Texas, 552 US 491, 2003. New Jersey versus Delaware, 552 US 597, 2008. Meade West Baco Corporation versus Illinois Department of Revenue, 553 US 16, 2010. Bays versus Reese, 553 US 35, 2011. Virginia versus Moore, 553 US 164, 2013. Crawford versus Marion County Election Board, 553 US 181, 2010. Department of Revenue of Kentucky versus Davis, 553 US 328, 2008. United States versus Williams, 553 US 285, 2006. Gomez Perez versus Potter, 553 US 474, 2012. Quanta versus LG Electronics, 553 US 617, 2009. Beaumont versus Bush, 553 US 723, 2008. All right. Oh, Catherine joined us. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Let me just date this. So I know we covered it. All right. Now, this next drill is going to focus on there, and they are. So we've got possessive there, which is TH final R, there, uses an adverb, pronoun, or a noun, is THR on the initial side. Then we have the contraction there for they are, TH long AR, and then they are, TH final R. All right, here we go. I'm going to give you some phrases first and then the sentences. Some of them, it's kind of hard to tell which one it is, but just pick one if it's in the phrase. Here we go. There is, there was, there will, they're right, their case, their plan, they're gone, they're good, they're late, they are fine, they are well, they are here, there should, their house, they're there. Okay, here are your sentences. There they go. Were you there? Will you be there? They are leaving. There is no way. Their car is here. They're waiting. Is there an appeal? Their way is best. They are late again. Get there quickly. Their house is new. They are in trouble. Is it over there? What is their bill? They are going to file it. There are many objections. What is their argument? Their motion was denied. There can be no decision. They are arguing the case. Their case was postponed. There is never enough. The clerk is over there. They're away on a trip. They're going to appeal. They are going to paint. They're running the show. Their plan is good. Their way is right. Their entry won. They're winning it. There is one method. They like their job. They're filing today. The brief is there. Their case was lost. They're really trying. Lay it over there. What is their point? They are ready now. There is no excuse. What is their reason? All right. I've got some final consonants with the IRCH, which is the FRP, IRF, which is FRB, and then EFR, you know that, final EFR. And then, of course, IRSH is R, and then you have to come back for the SH. All right, here are your sentences. We tried to march on the turf. The jackal crept through the marsh. I think it will drizzle in the gulch. Welsh people live a harsh life. We watch them lurch in the surf. Cereals that crackle soon fizzle. Let's all filch a swizzle stick. Church services were held on the wharf. We heard the hens cackle when Walsh walked away. Don't let the curves dazzle you. Your uncle put the bird on a perch. How do you carve a pickle? Place a circle around the arch. Her scarf didn't cost a nickel. Don't besmirch a fickle person. I will tackle the birch tree with a saw. Does your nose crinkle when you lurch? They will serve lunch prior to the search. You deserve the torch. Use the sickle to make the mulch. All right. Let's do some names and addresses. Here we go. Shirley N. Spiegel, Spiegel, Appleton Public Library, 225 North Oneida Street, Appleton, Wisconsin, 54911. Vertical Librarian, Penrose Public Library, P.O. Box 1579, Colorado Springs, Colorado, 80901. Kim L. Parrish, P.A. RRISH, Route 1, Box 4B, Fork Union, Virginia, 23050. Betty A. Nye, 11359 Feather Star Lane, Houston, Texas, 77067. Wendy M. Peterson, PETERSON, 4439 Mockingbird Lane, Toledo, Ohio, 43623. Mr. John W. West, WEST, P.O. Box 501, Boston, Massachusetts, 05034. Mr. Jonathan B. Hahn, HAUN, Foxhall, room 225, Findlay College, Findlay, Nevada, 99105. Pam G. Hebb, HEBB, Route 1, Box 190, Mechanicsville, Maryland, 20659. Trish P. Doherty, DAUGHERTY, Route 3, Box 198, Greensburg, Pennsylvania, 15601. Frank T. Vetter, VETTER, Monroe High School, 901 Hare Road, Monroe, Michigan, 48161. Cliff L. Thompson, THOMPSON, Crowton American High School, Guidance Department, APO, New York, 09378. Loretta A. Wyatt, WYATT, 375 West 127th Street, number 21, New York, New York, 10027. Ms. Orleez, ORLEZ, 2184 Madrid Lane, Anaheim, California, 92802. Kankakee Community College Placement Office, Box 880, River Road, Kankakee, Illinois, 60901. Eddie A. Goldman, GOLDMAN, West Bloomfield High School, 4925 Orchard Lake Road, West Bloomfield, Missouri, 68033. All right. Let's do some medical words with their definitions. Here we go. Abductor, a muscle which draws a part away from the median line of the body. Abrasion, superficial tearing or scraping of the skin. Abscess, a circumscribed collection of pus in any part of the body. Achilles tendon, the strong tendon formed of the united tendons of the large muscles in the calf of the leg and inserted into the bone of the heel. Aneurysm, a permanent abnormal dilation of a blood vessel, particularly an artery, resulting from disease of the vessel wall. Such dilations are filled with fluid, blood, or clotted blood. Anorexia, absence or loss of appetite. Anterior, situated in front of or in the forward part of. Aorta, the great arterial trunk which carries blood from the heart to be distributed by numerous branches to all parts of the body. Aqueous, containing water or watery substance. Arteriosclerosis, abnormal thickening and hardening of the walls of the arteries, occurring mostly in old age. Artery, one of the tubular branching vessels which carry the blood from the heart to the various parts and organs of the body. Articulation, a joint or juncture between bones or cartilages in the skeleton. Atrophy, a wasting away from want of nourishment. Axilla, the armpit. Bifurcation, a dividing into two branches. Bronchi, branches of the trachea or windpipe. Calcareous, pertaining to or containing lime or calcium carbonate, chalky. Calcification, the formation of lime salts in the tissues. Callus, a new bony deposit around a fracture, accomplishing the work of repair. Carotid, the principal arteries of the neck. Cerebral, of or pertaining to the brain. Cerebrospinal fluid, fluid of the brain and spinal cord. Cervical vertebra, the upper 7 bones of the spinal column. Coagulate, to clot. Coccyx, the last bone of the spinal column. Colles fracture, transverse fracture of the lower extremity of the radius with displacement of the hand backward and outward. Coronary, encircling as a vessel or a nerve. Cortex, the external gray layer of the brain. Crepitus, a crackling sound produced by rubbing together fragments of fractured bone. Cyanotic, pertaining to the blue discoloration of skin from non-oxidation of the blood. Debride, to cut away lacerated or contaminated tissue. Decalcified, freed from lime salts. Diastolic, pertaining to the period of dilation of the heart. Diathermy, heating local tissue by the aid of the high-frequency currents. Dilated, a vessel or organ which has expanded. Disseminated, scattered. Distal, away from the center of the body. Ecchymosis, discoloration due to an infusion of blood into the surrounding tissues after a rupture of the vessels. Embolus, any foreign or abnormal particles circulating in the blood as a bubble of air or a blood clot. Epiphysis, a part or process of a bone which ossifies separately and subsequently becomes a part of the larger bone. Epiphyseal, pertaining to an epiphysis. Epithelium, the covering of the skin and mucous membranes consisting wholly of cells of varying forms and arrangements. All right, and there's more, but we'll stop there. Okay, just date this. All right, moving on to literary. Oh, I didn't give you your common phrases. Let me just do that real quick, okay? All right, here we go. There's always one that I forget. as well as we understand, as you were, as far as long as much as well as much as, in so far as, so far as, such as, at all times, at a time, at least, at no time, at once, at that particular time, at that time, at the present time, at the same time, at the time, at this particular time, at this time. Call your attention. Can be, can he be, can I be, could be, I can't be, is to be, it would be, might be, must be, shall be, should be, this be, to be, will be, would be. Bear in mind, because of the, can have been, could have been, has been, have been, have you been, have you ever been? All right. So let's start with our literary, and then we'll move on to jury charge. Okay. This is more of the expert testimony. From this location in Hawaii. I got this from a friend of mine that's a reporter in Hawaii, and she gave it to me because she thought it'd be good practice for you guys, so I marked it up. All right, so I'm going to start at 180 and I'll work my way to 225, okay? Here we go. The influence design from a geotechnical analysis, which is the study of the earth or an understanding of the earth that you're going to be building on top of, understanding the contours of the land and the contours of the ocean bed, understanding all of the environmental constraints, the regulatory framework. You know, how are you going to permit this project? Looking at all of the coastal issues, which are numerous, you need to define what sort of wave climates and coastal conditions will impact this marina. And you have to look at all of the different water levels that are going to impact it, from design low water all the way to design high water, and what that really means. You have to look at different storm events and actually develop a hindcast. A hindcast is when you take the winds at the closest spot to where you're designing for, and typically it's an airport because they record winds over a long period of time. So you take all of the winds and you develop a wave climate based on those winds, and then you subject your shoreline to that wave climate. That's called a wave hindcast. And you develop it so that you can understand what the significant wave height is. A significant wave height is the highest 1/3 of the waves. Those are frequently used for design, a very important factor. If you don't use this, you are in trouble. You develop the whole coastal environmental condition to actually understand how it will impact your marina. Then you look at all of the adjacent land issues. You know, is there residential? Are there resorts? What sort of things are around the site and are going to impact it? What are the cultural resources? What are the other environmental restrictions? Are there wetlands? So it's looking at all of the different things that are going around to impact the site. And that forms a basis of design. Once you understand all of these issues, that's why I say it is evidence-based design. You can start laying out your marina, you know, start looking at the different configurations, because there's a prescribed standard set of guidelines when you start laying out a marina. You have to have certain fairway widths, certain dock widths. How much room do you need between the boats? How much room do you need between the different fairways? And start laying that out. What length of boats are you going to allow in? All of this affects what you do. How do you get access to all of the slips? Are they floating or are they fixed? So you want ADA access, and there are a set of governances that you must follow. So the ADA, which is Americans with Disabilities Act, that's getting people that aren't as mobile as you or I to your site. And there's the ADA Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, which is a standard for how you laid out a site. It has to do with certain slopes that you cannot exceed. If somebody is in a wheelchair, how do they get to your site? And there are a lot of guidelines now that you have to follow regarding the railings and the ramps and things like that, so that somebody that's either in a wheelchair or they're walking with a cane or they're not as mobile as you or I can get to the site. And those are all federal guidelines. You must follow those. There's a whole separate part of the whole ADA guidelines that has to do with recreational boating facilities, and they're a little different. They're different in terms of different size facilities, and they have different requirements. So we have to make sure we comply with all of that. We have to look at all of the utilities, whether they are the storm water or the electrical kind. Electrical is a very big thing in marinas. They draw a lot of power. Some larger boats will draw 100 amps, the equivalent of your house. So that's a lot of power to bring down to a slip. And actually, mega yacht facilities we are designing now are drawing 400 amps or more. 4 times what a house draws just for one boat. So the electrical thing is huge. The sanitary issue, even how you design the docks. Are they concrete? Are they wood, aluminum, steel? So a lot goes into that whole design. And then you have to look at the anchorage of it all and make sure that it's going to function with the whole water level change that you have, and that it's going to hold up in place on the bottom. So there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into that, and starting a marina and actually designing it in an appropriate way. You typically always provide electrical and you always provide water. Now, certain marinas also will have their own sanitary pump out systems, and boats having holding tanks for their sanitary wastewater. So a lot of times we will design marinas that have individual pump outs at every slip. Sometimes we design the sanitary that has a central pump out so that the boats will have to go there to pump out their own system. So we've done both. We've covered all of the things that matter when it comes to a marina. All right. Let me just state this. All right. Let's do some jury charge. And we started this the other day. This is going to be opposing counsel's legal opinion and arguments. Again, I'm going to start at 180 and work my way to 225. Okay, here we go. You're going to hear, unfortunately, U, F, or L is a great brief for that. Okay, here we go. With respect to the comment concerning days of depositions, this is a case in which, unfortunately, discovery has been long and complex, and already we have had quite a number of days in discovery. The president of McDonald's Group has had his deposition taken for some 2.5 days. The vice president of the McDonald's Group has had his deposition taken for some 3.5 days. The vice president of Gibson Savings has been deposed for real estate. The vice president for marketing of Gibson has been deposed. Full days on those. So it is proposed we depose the former managing officer for the Huntington Beach Company, another partner. We are flying to San Francisco on Thursday to do that. Mr. Goodwin, who is the president or officer in charge of the real estate for Huntington Beach Company, also is going to be deposed. This is a case, unfortunately, in which a lot of questions are being asked, and being asked for a multitude of days. I think what is critical here, and we got off the track since the last discussion, is the question of the use of these particular premises. It was a use that Huntington Center bargained for, which was to put in a savings and loan association. That is what they wanted. They were paying for it directly by giving a very low rent. That is what we find the critical issues here. In terms of the moving in this competitive motion here, and I said motivation here, which Mr. Colber has responded to with great effect and great abundance. What we're talking about here is an anti-competitive intent and anti-competitive effect, which are causing damage to the Huntington Center. At this court, or as this court is aware, those are the two elements which we must be shown any competitive intent and effect. Here, counsel for the Huntington Center is being damaged along with Gibson by virtue of this particular approach. One thing again, we have, I think, in the last discussion, gotten a little bit off track here. What we're talking about is contract. And if we look and we spoke and limited ourselves to the contract alone, we have a situation here where the Huntington Center did not give its consent. There is no question it did not give its consent. It refused to give its written consent. Instead, the contention is being raised by Coast that you have waived your rights. Those are questionable issues. They are not legal issues. They are arising under the contract. Opposition is that if they are going to be allowed to raise equitable issues in this particular action, that we have the right to also raise equitable issues. That is the question of unfair competition or anti-competitive considerations running to vary transactions at the issue. Furthermore, there is also an allegation, a claim with respect to the interference between a contractual relationship between Gibson and Huntington Center, which was carried out for anti-competitive considerations. Coast actions, as they undertook in this case, interfered with the relationship. Huntington Center had made arrangements and entered into a relationship with Gibson after they were told by Coast that Coast would not pay any rent. They were moving out of the center. They were going to leave it behind. That is when they got into the consideration with Gibson. When Coast learned about that, that is when they undertook to really move to put them in there. We believe that the anti-competitor unfair competition and that interference with the contractual relationship is of great moment in this lawsuit. And we think they deserve to be raised if Coast is going to be permitted to raise its equitable defenses as to estoppel and waiver. With respect to the one question here, which was 56, I believe, Your Honor, it is apparent that the line was drawn in the wrong place to me. And on page 28A, it is my error. And apparently I'm going to have to withdraw the motion with respect to question 56 because it was intended that page 28A should have been addressed to lines 10 through 12. That is to Mr. Cutcliffe. We believe the knowledge of those particular officers of Coast is of great relevance in determining this anti-competitive issue. I also raised with your clerk the fact that prior to the assignment of the unlawful detainer case to Your Honor for all purposes, and that is the case of Huntington Center versus Coast Federal, case 26-03-24, we filed a motion to compel answers to interrogatories. I don't have that document with me today, but it was either noticed for Department 25 or 28 in accordance. All right, so let's stop there. Yes.
Hey.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. So I'm trying to remember if when you say dash, we actually write the word dash or we write it out like a dash.
Well, when you're on your machine, I would write dash, you know, I just write dash.
Yeah.
That I like to do that. And then of course, you know, you're going to make your little dash when you're transcribing it. Catherine, how do you do that? Do you do OEOE or do you do just DASH?
Well,
Neither.
that's a slash.
I do HF.
Yeah, HF.
Oh, hyphen. Okay, yeah. Yep, you can do HF. Yep.
I've just trained myself to, because I know that you're not saying the word dash.
Right.
Okay, so when you're reading it, though, you're reading it actually. It has the hyphen and it's not the word dash written out.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
The only time it would be DASH is if they were to say like dash to the store, you know, or, you know, or, you know,
got a dash.
Yeah, got a dash. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You look dashing.
Yes, there you go. All right.
Alrighty then.
So yeah, that's good. If you could just get yourself programmed to write the initial H, final F when you hear dash, that totally works. All right.
It's kind of like when we hear O and we hit 0. If someone, you know, they're saying the number, it's kind of like, it's hard sometimes, but I mean, don't worry about it. I mean, hit dash because you can always fix it later if it's like slowing you down, right?
Exactly.
So,
kind of like
it was just the thought of which one was like correct or required of me was slowing me down. Like, because to do either or was like not an issue. I can write the word dash or I can just hit HF pretty easily.
Yeah. See, and I write dash, and then if they were to say dash, then I would just flag it, you know, like DAS.
Yeah.
I would just flag it. Because that doesn't come up very often, but I like what Catherine does. She just does the HF. If she kind of like she said, the 405 freeway 605, we still use the 0. even though they say O, we know they
Oh
mean
yeah.
0. They never say the 605 freeway. Isn't that weird? Or the 405. I mean, it sounds weird, you know?
Yeah.
And side note, not to get too off track, but out here in Tennessee, they don't even say the in front of the number
Oh
of
yeah.
the freeway. So I sound like a weirdo out here.
Oh,
Get
so
on
they wouldn't
10.
say like, get on the 15?
No. So out here,
Get
like
on
the
15.
big one is like 40 or 65, and they don't say the like, hey, hop on the 65. They're like, you mean on 65? Get
Yeah,
on
you're
65.
like, I wonder if we just do that because we have so many freeways.
Up north, Northern California, they don't say the either. They say I. So get on I-5, I-10,
Yeah.
I-99
Yep,
for interstate.
that's true. I've heard that a lot. Yeah, that makes sense. The I,
Yeah.
for interstate. Yep,
Good times.
yep. Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one thing that stuck out to me when I moved to Southern California.
Yeah. I show my Southern California a lot out here in Tennessee. That's one way.
Isn't that funny how they can just spot it? Like, I remember moving to Oregon and they were like, you're from Southern California, aren't you? And I go, yeah, how do you know? Oh, because you wear, this one lady said, oh, because you wear makeup and you color your hair. Because a lot of them there don't wear makeup and they don't.
A lot of hippies in Oregon.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I'm a high maintenance kind of person, you know? It's not like I'm
No. Well, because it's a social norm down here.
But yeah, and she was like,
funny.
yeah, and you color your hair
and you don't say hella or hecka.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because you wear makeup. Yeah, they don't wear makeup anywhere else in the country but Southern California. So
of course.
Clearly.
Isn't that? Yeah, no, they did that. They said that a lot of times. They like a lot of people said that to me. Oh, we can tell the Southern Californians because they color their hair and they wear makeup. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just sun bleached.
They say it's because of my accent out here. And I'm like, my accent?
Yeah.
I'm in Tennessee.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, they don't think you have an accent, or they think you have one, but you know, it's just all relative.
Nobody thinks they have their own accent.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Like, oh, I like your accent. And
especially California, because we feel like, there's no accent. Like, we do not have an accent. We're like the one place with no accent.
They think we do.
Yeah, I know,
it's because
right?
you're used to how we talk.
Like, this is normal, okay? Everybody else has an accent.
Yeah.
But I guess everybody else thinks that too. It's weird.
Well, I remember when I was a kid and I would go all over the U.S. for skating. And I remember going to Texas for a competition, and I met some people that were from there, and they thought it was so funny that I called the girls guys. Like, I would say, hey, you guys. And they were like, guy. I mean, this
like
is
offended.
Oh, yeah. They were like, guys, no, you say y'all. You don't say guys. We're not guys. We're girls. It's like,
y'all.
Yeah, y'all. Say y'all, not guys. I don't know.
Classic.
Yeah.
Wait, skating? Like figure skating?
Yes, well, I did figure and speed. I did both.
Who knew?
I've been skating my whole life.
All on that ice.
Derby, but yeah. Oh, yeah.
That explains the roller derby.
Huh?
So, well, that explains the roller derby.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But what I used
to went a different way with it, though.
Yeah. I used to be no contact sport. Yeah.
Right? Next, you're going to do hockey.
Yeah. I know. I wish I had more years, to skate. My time is limited.
Oh, don't say that.
I am. I'm one of the oldest girls on my roller derby team. I'm like, oh, darn it. I don't want to wake up one day and say I can't do it anymore, but I know that day is coming.
Aww.
I saw a news story not that long ago, this guy who plays ice hockey, and he's 85 or 90, and he looks like you wouldn't even be able to tell.
That's amazing.
He's so light on his feet and
it's gonna be
agile.
You, Jill.
That's gonna be you.
That'd be awesome. We have one girl in our league that's 54, and she's still really good. So I'm like, okay. I look at her and I'm like, okay, I still have.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still got 7 years, so yeah, I can use it. So, anyways,
you can do it. You're gonna do this well into your 60s.
That'd be awesome. Just
At
for
least.
because I won't go to the gym, but I'll go to practice, you know?
Or you're gonna switch to hockey.
Yeah. Man, I like derby.
Full contact hockey.
Oh, this is full contact. Oh, we just had a girl last week break her arm. I've broken my shoulder playing roller derby.
Really?
Two fingers, an arm, torn a IT band. Oh yeah. It's like, yeah, it can be pretty crazy.
Man, forget hockey.
Yeah.
You're set.
Yeah, we have a lot of girls out right now with broken legs, ankles, arms.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's even though you're padded up, it's
Brutal.
Yeah. All right.
You guys do the elevated rink, right? Where it's like
Oh, bank track? No, we
bank?
don't do bank
No?
track. We do flat. A lot of the bank tracks are going away. It's kind of sad. There was one in San Diego, but they just closed it like 2 weeks.
Because isn't it easier to skate on those if you're like keeping up to speed or
No, I think
No.
it's harder.
yeah?
Yeah.
I would think it'd be
'cause all
harder
your
to
weight is on
constantly
one
corner
side.
on a flat ground.
It's easier, like if you hit somebody, they're gonna go flying because you're like already.
Yeah, that's true.
You know. But yeah, I don't know. They're going away. Everybody's doing flat track. Maybe because it's limited. Like our flat track where we practice in Temecula, we've got a hockey league, so it's multi.
Oh yeah.
You know, where
Yeah.
that's just kind of you're locked into one sport. You know.
Yeah.
So
They don't build them so much anymore.
yeah,
Can't
they
find
don't,
them.
and the ones that they have are going away. So kind of sad,
Bummer.
but all righty. Well, we'll go ahead and get started with Q&A. Okay, and I'll start it. This is a smaller transcript, and then I'll switch. Okay, all right, here we go. Okay, this is going to be plaintiff, and I'm going to start at 180 and work my way to 225. If not, I'll definitely get to 200 and then move to 225 in the next transcript. Okay, here we go. State your name, please. Thomas Norwood Jr. What is your address? 517 Paulson Avenue. How old are you? 23. And have you always lived at that address? The last 15 years. And do you live with whom? My mom and dad. Now then, tell the court, were you also arrested and convicted of automobile theft in the past? Yes. When? 2011. August of 2011? Yes. You served time. 20 months. Where? Central Corrections. Where? Central Corrections. Were you placed on parole after 20 months? Yes, sir. And you then returned home to your mom and dad? Yes, sir. Did you go to work after that? Yes, sir. And for whom did you work for? The Burnside store. And how long did you work there? About a month and a half. And did you report to Mr. Anderson over at the Department of Public Welfare during that time? Yes, sir. And I would like to ask you whether or not you got a job after that. Yes, sir. He said that I could get another job. And where was your next deployment? Nelson's General Auto and Tire Store. How long did you work there? About a month until I got into this. Until you were arrested? That's right. Now on this particular day, did you work that day? I did. Do you know what day of the week that was? It was on a Wednesday. Did you eat at home that night? Yes, sir. Did you go out to dinner? Yes, sir. Where did you go? After dinner, about 7 o'clock, I left the house. Where did you go? I went to Uptown Bar and Grill. Do you mean on Main? Yes, sir. And did you make any stops? A couple of places. And I will ask you whether or not later on you were in the vicinity of Washington and Harper Street? I was. What did you do in that neighborhood? I went into Curly's on Harper. What kind of an establishment is that? A bar. Do they sell food too? Uh-huh. Did you have anything to drink there? Just beer. What time did you leave the Curly's place? Just about 10 o'clock. That was on the 13th? Yes, sir. Did you meet anyone in an automobile in front of Curly's? Yes, sir. Do you know who they are? Can you tell the names? I know one of them is Jason. Do you know his last name? No, sir. Did you have any conversation with them? They asked me where I was going. Did you get into their car? Yes, sir. What kind of a car was it? It was a black Chevy of some type. Who was operating the automobile? Jason. And where did you go? To a roller rink. Where is that located? Right off of Marshall Street. Did you meet anyone there? These two guys and a couple of girls. And then what happened? They wanted to take them home. Did you? We all went down to a place called the Hub and had something to eat. And when you left there, where did you go? To Marty's bowling. And what happened there? Nothing, but after that, we saw this car involved in an accident. Did you operate that automobile that evening? No, sir. Who did operate your vehicle, the one you were riding in? Jason did. Do you know whose automobile that was? No, sir. And he was in the automobile when you first got into it? Yes, sir. The accident you mentioned, did that involve that car that you were in? Yes. Were you injured? I broke my nose. I was knocked out. You were knocked out, but you know you weren't driving the automobile up to that time? Positively, yes, sir. Can you tell the court what happened after that? The next thing I knew, I was wakened in jail the next morning. And you were taken to a hospital? Yes, sir. I was taken to the hospital, but I don't remember anything. Well, did you discover you were in the hospital after the accident? Yes, sir. Well, at the time of the accident, do you remember having a conversation with anyone? No, sir. Do you remember any officers there in uniform? Do you remember being taken to the hospital? No, sir. You don't know whether you were taken in an ambulance or how? I don't know, sir. When you were taken to the police station, was it evening or daytime? I don't remember that either, sir. Don't you know? Well, you got to the police station. Did you have a conversation with an officer down there? Yes, Dan Jackson. And did he ask you about the accident? Yes, sir. Okay, so let's stop there and we'll switch transcripts. Okay. This one I'm going to start right at 225. Okay. All right. We've got a little bit of colloquy. Good practice. Here we go. 225. And I would be moving that into evidence at this time, Your Honor. Any objection, Mr. Bristol? Submit it, along with its contents, which are 86A, 86B, and 86C. That's the bullets. Yes, Your Honor, 2 bullets and a shell casing. 2 bullets and a shell casing is what it looks like, Mr. Bristol. Submit it. Okay. 86 is admitted into evidence. 86A, 86B, and C is admitted into evidence. 86 is just the envelope itself. Envelope itself, yes. Could I examine the envelope, Your Honor? Let me just say 36 is not admitted. I believe that's included in 94. Go ahead, Mr. Bristol. As to 86, which is just the envelope, I'm going to object to the admission of the envelope. And my grounds are, there's a great deal of writing on the envelope that is meaningful to Mr. Abackerley and myself and to Detective Gonzalez and my law enforcement officer. These are various names and various people who have looked at the envelope. I don't know what connotation it has, but it's not in evidence of anything in the case. I have no objection to the bullets, but I'm going to object to the envelope. All right, if I could just see the envelope, please. Thank you very much. Looking at 86, on the back, there's a seal. It's a transparent seal. It's kind of like Scotch tape, only it's identified as law enforcement evidence seal. There's someone's initials and a date that is or was sealed on the front page. It looks like on the sides, there's more of this tape. And there are entries in ink. For example, there's G. Bristol apparently had an opportunity to look at the contents. There's the word exam in brackets, people's initials, and it looks like badge numbers. Then there is an LR number and DR number. There's a sheriff's evidence tag that is stapled to the envelope. Just for the record, Your Honor, we have not made an issue of chain of evidence or anything of that nature in the case. I know, but it would appear to the court that this envelope, it does not have anything that is prejudicial in it. It does not give the appearance that the evidence was handled appropriately by the law enforcement. There's been no testimony one way or another on that issue, and that hasn't been an issue in the case. Well, I think the chain of evidence and the way the sheriff's office conducts their investigation is especially at issue in the case, because that's exactly part of the defense, but not on all the issues of chain of evidence. That's correct. So, but the investigation is really being put on trial as far as the court can see. Well, then if that's the case, I'm going to object as to no foundation as to that exhibit. All right, and Mr. Abackerley, you're asking that it come in? Yes, Your Honor. All right, Exhibit 86 is also admitted into evidence. 86A, 86B, and 86C are admitted into evidence. 87 is a defense exhibit. Mr. Bristol, are you moving that into evidence? If I might have a moment, Your Honor, that's my quarter. Yes, I am. I would ask the court to be reimbursed for that. I will. Any objection? No, Your Honor. 87 is admitted into evidence. 88 is, I believe, a transcript of the tape cassette, Exhibit 41, which I believe has to do with the polygraph examinations that will not be admitted into evidence. It will just be made as a permanent part of the court's records. 89 is not admitted into evidence either. Well, Mr. Abackerley, 90, you're not moving that into evidence? No, Your Honor, that is not admitted into evidence. How about 91? I will move that into evidence. Any objection? What is 91? I think that was, it's the lands and grooves diagram, characteristics diagram that were shown there. Submit it. 91 is admitted into evidence. Move 92 into evidence. Any objection? Submit it. 92 is admitted into evidence. 93, no motion. All right, and Mr. Bristol, you're not going to move that into evidence? No, Your Honor. 93 will not be admitted. 94, move that be admitted. That's already been admitted into evidence. That's correct. What date did that occur? I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'd have to go back and look at the notes. It would be the date when we first played the recordings. The recordings, yes. Oh, it's 94. 94 was admitted on October 31st. No, wait a second. It would have been on the first day that we started playing the recordings. I think that was when we came back from the week recess, and that would have been on October 31st. So that was admitted on October 31st. 88A, Mr. Abackerley. I'm sorry, let me see what that is. No, I'm not moving that into evidence. That has to do with the polygraph. 88A is not admitted into evidence. 32B is not admitted into evidence. 33B is not admitted into evidence. 34B is not admitted into evidence. 35B is not admitted into evidence. Mr. Abackerley, 95. I will move that into evidence. Okay, any objection? I show it as admitted. I believe it was just provided to the court for identification. Okay, our records show that it was identified on November 2nd. We don't have it admitted. Submit it. 95 is admitted into evidence, and 96. I will move that into evidence. Submit it. 96 is admitted into evidence. I think that takes care of all the exhibits. Thank you very much. We are in recess until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Have a nice evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the case of People versus the State of California versus William Myers. We are in open court out of the presence of the jury. Present are Mr. Abackerley for the District Attorney's Office. Mr. Bristol is present along with his client, Mr. Myers. Anything to place on record before we bring the jurors in? Well, yes, Your Honor. I have just a few, Your Honor. Okay, go ahead, sir. This morning I received some additional discovery from Mr. Abackerley. It really doesn't pertain to this offense. It involves apparently a search of my client's cell phone in the Rancho Cucamonga Center. There was a toothbrush that had been sharpened found in his cell that authorities have classified as a shank. It was found in a bottle of hand lotion that was in the cell. It really does not have anything to do with these proceedings, though. So what do you, well, go ahead. Well, Your Honor, I'm concerned that Mr. Abackerley plans to use that in the case. Are you not? Yes, and I would object to it being, well, I think we should be able to use it. Well, for one thing, the report indicates that it wasn't just Mr. Myers' cell, but the cell of another individual as well. So although they are attributing the possession to Mr. Myers, it was not Mr. Myers' device, and it's not clear cut as to who this object even belongs to. Is it a two-man cell? Yes. Okay, how long ago was this? On the 11th, I believe, of the month, of this month? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Abackerley, I provided the copy of the report to counsel as a courtesy. It's my understanding that the charges will be filed as a result of the incident. All right, you don't intend, at least on the present state of the evidence, to get that before the jury? No, Your Honor. All right, and should something happen during the presentation of the defense case that leads you to the belief that it may become relevant, you just need to let me know so that you would like to present that to the jury. Would you ask for a hearing out of the presence of the jury so that we can litigate the issue? Yes, certainly, Your Honor. All right, that's fine. Mr. Bristol, anything further? No, Your Honor, that's it. I do have one matter, Your Honor. I've brought this to the court's attention before, and I've spoken with Mr. Bristol, I know, a number of occasions, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but last week in speaking with Mr. Bristol about the evidence that he intended to present, I advised him that I wasn't in receipt of any witness list or reports. He told me he would be calling Grover Porter as a witness. Possibly. Okay, possibly. And that was the extent of the names of the persons that I was advised of. He then called Mr. Lonsford yesterday as a witness without any other notice, other than the fact that Mr. Lonsford came into court prior to being called. I understand now he's going to be calling Detective Gonzalez. I am still unaware of any witnesses, any other witnesses that the defense intends to call in this case. All right, Mr. Bristol, your intention is to call Detective Gonzalez, right? Yes, sir. Who will you call later after that? Hopefully, Mr. Porter. Okay, so what you have kind of scheduled is Detective Gonzalez this morning and perhaps this afternoon, and then Mr. Porter? Yes, that is right. All right, and any other witnesses that you have scheduled for today? Not at this moment in time, not at this point in time, no. All right, any reports that you have? No. Of the witnesses? No. Anything further for the record? No, Your Honor. If we could have the jurors come in, please. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The record will reflect all jurors are present. Also present is Mr. Abackerley for the District Attorney's Office. Mr. Bristol is present along with his client, Mr. Myers. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the delay. My morning calendar was pretty busy this morning, and we just finished with the morning matters. Mr. Bristol, you may call your next witness. Thank you very much, Your Honor. We would call or recall Detective Gonzalez, please. Thank you. Detective Gonzalez, if you would please have a seat, sir. You're still under oath. Thank you very much. For the record, at this point in time, I would designate Detective Gonzalez as my witness, Your Honor, for the purposes of this matter. You may proceed. Go ahead, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gonzalez, did you do the investigation as you previously testified to in this case? Yes, I did. And there came a time when there was an issue of a white Jeep Cherokee that came up in the case in your investigation. Is that correct? Yes, sir. And did you in fact interview one Bertel Hall? Yes, I did. And Mr. Hall was an individual who was residing where? 1750 West 22nd Street in Los Angeles. And what address did Mr. Myers give you as to where his residence was? 1750 West 22nd. That's the same address that Mr. Hall was interviewed at? Yes, it was. And during the course of the interview, didn't you receive information that Mr. Hall had seen Mr. Myers in a Jeep Cherokee? Yes. When was this interview that you did with Mr. Hall? That was on September 3rd of 2012. This was after you spoke with Mr. Myers? Yes, it was. Okay, so let's do a little bit of read back. Okay. So that whole thing was 225. Okay. All right. This is going to be defense questioning. Okay, so we're going to do first take at 225, then 200, and then 180. Okay. All right. All right, here we go. Oh, let me just give you just a couple of things you're going to hear. Diagnosis, perforations, x-rays, procedures, diagnostic, complications, physician, general practitioner, specialist, and mediastinitis. That's like inflammation of the tissue of the mid-chest. Okay, so mediastinitis. Mediastinitis. Okay, all right, and it's defense questioning. Here we go. Dr. Catone, when a general practitioner or some other referring doctor who is not in your specialty refers a case to you, is there a certain relatively standard responsibility that is maintained between the referring physician and the specialist? Yes. The specialist assumes those duties that would fall within his specialty. Generally speaking, is that correct? Yes. And the referring physician may or may not follow the patient? Yes. If he follows the patient to a certain extent, there would be some teamwork between them. Is that correct? Correct. For example, the specialist might rely upon the referring physician to advise him of any unusual complications. Right. But as far as making the decisions on matters which fall within the specialty, that responsibility would be assumed by the specialist usually. Is that correct? Yes. Now, as far as this particular case is concerned, you assume the responsibility of making the decision to perform the operation. Correct. And you made the decision to determine which of the diagnostic procedures would be done first, second, third, and so forth. Is that correct? Yes. You assume the responsibility of ordering that patient's diet as it might be related to the procedure. Correct. And you assume the responsibility of diagnosis of any mediastinitis. Is that correct? Yes. You assume responsibility of diagnosing any perforations. Yes. You assume the responsibility for ordering such additional x-rays or treatment which you felt necessary. Yes. Okay. So let's do it again at 200. Here we go. Dr. Catone, when a general practitioner or some other referring doctor who is not in your specialty refers a case to you, is there a certain relatively standard responsibility that is maintained between the referring physician and the specialist? Yes. The specialist assumes those duties that would fall within his specialty, generally speaking. Is that correct? Yes. And the referring physician may or may not follow the patient? Yes. If he follows the patient to a certain extent, there would be some teamwork between them. Is that correct? Correct. For example, the specialist might rely upon the referring physician to advise him of any unusual complications. Right. But as far as making the decisions on matters which fall within the specialty, that responsibility would be assumed by the specialist usually. Is that correct? Yes. Now, as far as this particular case is concerned, you assumed the responsibility of making the decision to perform the operation. Correct. And you made the decision to determine which of the diagnostic procedures would be done first, second, third, and so forth. Is that correct? Yes. You assume the responsibility of ordering the patient's diet as it might be related to the procedure. Correct. And you assume the responsibility of diagnosis of any mediastinitis. Is that correct? Yes. You assume responsibility of diagnosing any perforations. Yes. You assume the responsibility for ordering such additional x-rays or treatment which you felt necessary? Yes. That's okay. That's all right. I can tell this is tough just by me reading it. So don't be hard on yourself. Okay, last one at 180. Here we go. Dr. Catone, when a general practitioner or some other referring doctor who is not in your specialty refers a case to you, is there a certain relatively standard responsibility that is maintained between the referring physician and the specialist? Yes. The specialist assumes those duties that would fall within his specialty, generally speaking. Is that correct? Yes. And the referring physician may or may not follow the patient? Yes. If he follows the patient to a certain extent, there would be some teamwork between them. Is that correct? Correct. For example, the specialist might rely upon the referring physician to advise him of any unusual complications. Right. But as far as making the decisions on matters which fall within the specialty, that responsibility would be assumed by the specialist usually. Is that correct? Yes. Now, as far as this particular case is concerned, you assume the responsibility of making the decision to perform the operation. Correct. And you made the decision to determine which of the diagnostic procedures would be done first, second, third, and so forth. Is that correct? Yes. You assume the responsibility of ordering that patient's diet as it might be related to the procedure. Correct. And you assumed the responsibility of diagnosis of any mediastinitis. Is that correct? Yes. You assumed responsibility of diagnosing any perforations. Yes. You assumed the responsibility for ordering such additional x-rays or treatment which you felt necessary. Yes. All right. It's okay.
Also really bad.
It's all right. If you want, you can try to read back, but if you want to just follow, then I can read it back. It's totally up to you.
Well, I know I don't have the first one.
Okay. You just let me know when you find your spot.
Oh, I have my spot.
You do? Okay. You have your spot, Catherine?
Yeah,
It's rolling on the old
I'd be
notes.
okay with just reading along.
Okay. How about if I read it and you guys see how you do?
That sounds smoother.
Okay. I know that was tough. I could tell just by, I was having a hard time making my marks, on my watch. So I know it's hard for you guys to write when I'm having, even the 180, it was like, oh my gosh, don't take a breath, So, okay.
Nice.
So you guys just follow along and I'll read the Q&A, okay? Here we go. Question, Dr. Catone, when a general practitioner or some other referring doctor who is not in your specialty refers a case to you, is there a certain relatively standard responsibility that is maintained between the referring physician and the specialist? Answer, yes. Question, the specialist assumes those duties that would fall within his specialty, generally speaking. Is that correct? Answer, yes. Question, and the referring physician may or may not follow the patient. Answer, yes. Question, if he follows the patient to a certain extent, there would be some teamwork between them. Is that correct? Answer, correct. Question, for example, the specialist might rely upon the referring physician to advise him of any unusual complications? Answer, right. Question, but as far as making the decisions on matters which fall within the specialty, that responsibility would be assumed by the specialist usually. Is that correct? Answer, yes. Question now, as far as this particular case is concerned, you assumed the responsibility of making the decision to perform the operation. Answer, correct. Question, and you made the decision to determine which of the diagnostic procedures would be done first, comma, second, comma, third, comma, and so forth. Is that correct? Answer, yes. Question, you assumed the responsibility of ordering that patient's diet as it might be related to the procedure. Answer, correct. Question, and you assumed the responsibility of diagnosis of any mediastinitis. Is that correct? Answer, yes. Question, you assumed responsibility of diagnosing any perforations. Answer, yes. Question, you assumed the responsibility for ordering such additional x-rays or treatment which you felt necessary. Answer, yes. How'd you do? Not as bad as you thought?
It took
Still
me
bad.
like half of it to get like into it. I don't know. Or maybe the first half was harder than the second half. I don't know.
Yeah.
I felt like
Maybe.
it was
Yeah.
right about halfway through. I was like, okay, now I'm fine.
Yeah.
I was rough out the gate.
Yeah. The first couple questions were ugly for me.
Yeah.
Mediastinitis slowed me down a couple times too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough one to write. Just write it
I
phonetically.
think I had it in 5 strokes.
Yeah. Mediastinitis. Oh, well, that's okay though. Good practice.
Good times. Good times.
There's part 2 of this that I'll read next week.
Yikes.
Let's see if
I can't even imagine. My mom's friend, who is a court reporter,
yeah,
specializes in medical cases.
yes.
No. Can't even imagine. Kill me now.
You just, just write it phonetically and then just tell yourself, I'll do the research later. I'm writing it phonetically.
There you go. There's so many, like, in medical words and scientific words, like the smallest like letter change for endings, and like they're even like in the middle of the words though, just like completely change the meaning of the word, but both do exist.
Yes.
So it's a problem.
The struggle is real.
Yes, will be.
The thing is that, like, when you're on a deposition, I mean, not always, sometimes new words come up all the time, but a lot of times it's not like you're doing 5-minute spurts of different material. Like, they're talking about the same thing for the most part the whole time.
Yeah,
so
typically
you get used to writing the word at a certain point. You're like, okay, I figured it out,
Exactly.
So
yeah,
that's kind of nice.
Yeah, it is. And then you just create a job dictionary for that job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just keep a lookup on that auto brief.
Yeah.
When it says, hey, you want to write whatever the word was, mediastinus or whatever.
Yeah.
Am I flagged? Yeah, sure.
I'm
gonna go with it.
Just write meat ass.
Yeah. You want to change that 5 strokes into 1? Yeah, please.
Sure.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
It was interesting when I had that jury duty, and I, the reporter's writing away, and and maybe it was just because it was jury selection, but I never once saw the attorneys even look at their screen,
Oh, they had real-time screens?
Yeah, but they weren't even looking at them. But I don't know, maybe it's big, but even depositions, I don't.
Because they didn't care.
Yeah.
Only when they're seeing some real juicy stuff.
Yeah. Although it got pretty, I don't know, it got pretty intense because the defendant was on for child molestation. So they were going around and they wanted to know everyone, like if anybody had an issue from whether it was personal or in their family. Mm-hmm. When did it happen? Who was it? I mean, it was pretty. Then they had to.
Maybe they're captivated.
Yeah, well, and then they had to like let so many go before they could bring in. They had to bring in more jurors. The judge said, take a break, and
so pretty much nobody with any experience with the subject matter, so that there's no bias.
There were only very few. Oh, and that was another thing. They wanted to know if you had any relatives or close friends that were law enforcement, like police, sheriff. I mean, this is the defense asking this.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I'm
They're
sure
out.
A lot of people, most people do. So they wanted all the, as soon as I told them my husband's best friend is a sheriff for Hemet, that was it. You're okay. Thank you. You're excused. Goodbye. So it's interesting, But anyways.
I think it was my brother. I'm trying to think who it was trying to get out of jury duty. It might have been my brother or something. He was just like, I'm just going to go in and say I'm racist.
Well, you know what's funny? There was a guy that kind of implied that. And the judge, it cracked me up because the judge goes, okay, you're excused, but you can go downstairs and tell them that you're excused from this case, but I want you on another trial. One. Yeah, they're just going to put him on another trial, where I was there for 2 full days before they excused me. And then I think he figured, okay, she's been here 2 full days. We're going to, I'm not going to make you serve on it. It was almost like the people that were trying to get out are the ones that had to serve more time.
Yeah, they can usually tell.
Oh, yeah. Like this one lady was like, I can't be here. I watch a little 4-year-old, and the judge goes, oh, well, we've got a new daycare service. It's right downstairs, and as long as they're potty trained, you can. Yeah, I mean, it was everybody that had an excuse, it was pretty much no, sorry.
Nice.
Except for this one guy that clearly he had medical issues. I mean, he was struggling with a cane, and elderly guy, and he just said, I can't sit here because that trial they said was going to take about 3 weeks. It was pretty multiple counts of molestation. So it was going to take, they said, 3 weeks. So this man was like, I can't sit here for 3 weeks. So he did excuse him, but it was interesting,
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, and then I don't know if I told you guys, they went around the room, they want to know what you do. And so, I said, I'm a court reporter. And then the judge looked at the court reporter and said, do you mind that if she were to be chosen, are you okay? Does that bother you that she's a court reporter? And his court reporter said, no, not at all. Okay. So yeah. And he said, and I love court reporters. So we're glad to have you. It's like, that's not going to get you off.
Bummer.
I know. I'm like,
I've heard it all. I'm desensitized, so I'm not going to be a good juror.
Yeah. But the one thing that got me off was, which I didn't think it would get me off, but I mean, I didn't, was when I said, oh yeah, my husband's best friend is a sheriff. Okay. Then then the defense said, okay,
that's it.
Juror number, whatever number I was, because I was already in the box. Thinking, man, this is a done deal. I'm going to be here for 3 weeks.
Dang.
Okay, she's excused. So
it already pretty much finished the election, huh?
Yeah.
You made the cut.
Barely. I mean, I was in that box. I went from the chairs down below to up at the top, and there for 2 days. And I thought for sure, well, okay, I'm going to serve my time, and at the very last minute, they excused me. So
I think I remember this was while you were a sage, right? Was I in your class?
Oh no, that was another time. This was like 3 weeks ago.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, I'm always lucky. I'm always every year they're so good about sending me that notice.
You get it like every year?
Yeah, I've never like actually sat for a full trial, but I always have to do the process. Man. And yeah. So
and, my dad is the opposite. He always wants jury duty, but he's like never been summoned.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and my mom gets it, and she's always trying to get off.
Like, no. Yeah,
maybe
my daughter.
Because he's a pastor.
Yeah.
They don't want that.
It's crazy though how that. And my daughter had it just a couple weeks before I was served, and she sat on the case, and they found the defendant not guilty. So pretty interesting, Yeah. So
yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, okay. So next week, then class is going to be nights now. He just,
No more mornings?
No. He sent out a notice.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's trying to get a bigger audience, or hopefully more students. And we're doing it later at night, like let's see, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Well, Monday will be low speeds from 8:30 to 9:30. Wednesdays, mid speeds, 8:30 to 9:30. Friday, high speeds, 8:30 to 9:30, and this is at night because his hope is that it works out for more students.
Aren't you doing both, or
we work?
What time are your night ones right now?
Well, right now they've been from 5 to 6, but we kind of wonder, like, is
still too early for a lot of people?
Yeah, people are just getting off work. Yeah. But you never know. It may change again, but he is going down to just one right now, one mid or one lower speeds, one mid, one high, because he felt like, just not enough students were coming to the live. And he says, we have so much material.
Friday night is so tough.
Yeah,
Friday
I'm not
night,
gonna be able to come to any of them.
No.
I don't think I will. I don't think I'm gonna be able to come.
Not on Friday night.
Mm-mm.
No. I work at night, like every
Maybe.
night.
I don't know. I mean, I have a thing that I do most Friday nights, and by 10:30, because that's 10:30 my time, I'm like exhausted on Friday. I can try, but I probably won't. I'm usually in bed, honestly. I'm like an old lady.
That's okay. No worries.
Or I'm not even home yet some Friday nights. But
Well, again, this might change. I mean, I think he's just doing an experiment to see,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
But I could always ask him if maybe we could do early Friday morning. Like maybe if we did a real, like if the thinking is hopefully we get more students, if it's really late at night, then maybe if it's really early in the morning, that would maybe help for before people go to work. Like, would you guys be able to do a Friday early morning, like 7 to 8?
maybe. If I can get
I
out
mean,
of bed.
I could.
Oh yeah, are you 1 or
That's
2
not,
hours later?
I'm 2 hours, but I mean,
Oh man.
don't do it off of me, I guess. I'm just, Friday night is killer. Don't you want to go out on Friday night? Jill?
Oh man.
I'm sorry. That's honest feedback. Friday night, like people
What about
just
Sunday night?
go out.
Sunday night, is that?
Sunday nights are even better than a Friday night, I feel like. I don't know. What do
Okay,
you think, Adam?
Sunday nights I'm tied up till like 8. So
Yeah, maybe
I
Sunday.
could
I
maybe
mean,
do like 8. It'd be
yeah,
late.
it
Like
wouldn't be
8:30
any,
to 9:30.
it would not be any earlier than 8:30. It would be like 8:30 to
Like
9:30.
8:30 to 9:30.
Uh-huh.
I could possibly do that.
You
As long as
could.
it's not the low speed one.
No, Friday, low speeds will be Monday, mid speeds will be Wednesday. And I was thinking, well, we could do high speeds on Wednesday, after, because the mid speeds will be from 8:30 to 9:30. But gosh, if I did high speeds from 9:30 to 10:30, that's late. I mean, wouldn't that be really late for you guys? If I had back to back
Pretty late. What day are you talking about?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, 9:30 to 10:30. It would be really late, but if I could possibly actually make that.
Let me see. I'm going to stop the recording.